Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's day 2 of the Quake World Championships brought to you by AMD. We are live from Dallas, Texas here at QuakeCon 2017. The BYOC is hopping. I'm hearing screaming and people are getting AMD machines given away to them, and it just sounds like a good old time here. And it is, because we've got some amazing Quake action happening right here at the Quake World Championships. I'm DJ Weed, of course, joined by Machiavelli. And now on the panel as well, we've got Tosspot. Hello, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We specifically requested you. Actually, I'm totally lying. They told us that Cooler was going to be coming. But after that matchup, you guys, I'm not surprised if he was like, I just want to settle down a little bit. Did you get the chance to watch that one?
I did. We were watching it out back, and we had 0-4 there with us, and he was literally like hugging this cushion so much that went down to that final frag, and he jumped up.
That makes me so happy to hear.
It was so great to see, like, you know, such a seasoned professional as well, just like let loose a little bit.
Being as giddy as we are up here about this Quake tournament, so.
Because I must admit, I was over here, you know, setting up for our spot, and I was like, in front, what? I just like, what's going on? And you know, you got to give credit to the players like Cooler and Toxic. You know, Marcus and I were talking in the crowd about how if you don't have experience and this and that, I mean, into that pressure situation, you're just gonna crumble.
Yeah.
So you got, I mean, credit to both players in that situation to keep their. I mean, you looked at them on stage. I mean, you wouldn't even think they were in a big tournament. They were just focused.
Well, I know we only got to see that one match, but let's take a look at the bracket and see how the other games are beginning to sort out. Because coming up next, we've got Raisy versus Rapha. But here we have Faz eliminated from the tournament over Noctis over him, 2-1, and then Avic taking out BYOC entry Sparty in a 2-0 matchup. So already, unfortunately, we see some great names dropping. We'll continue to update you on all of those results. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got another exciting one for you. And we got a chance to see Raisy up on stage, taking on actually a player who was just eliminated moments ago, Toxic. And we were super impressed with this player. I mean, in how he played and how he was composed on stage. And it's really interesting because in what we just saw in Cooler, there's some very similar styles, whether that be champion selection and how they're playing and how they are composed on stage. So I'm very curious to see how Raisy does versus Rapha, the reigning QuakeCon champion, who's looking for potentially a hat trick here at QuakeCon as well. And well, let's take a look at Raisy and talk a little bit about him. So, I mean, Raisy's performance versus Toxic yesterday was absolutely fantastic. And of course, sort of young blood here, was introduced at 5 years old to Quake. And we were talking about that yesterday, like that must be pretty nice to have a keyboard and mouse in your hand since 5 years old. But Tosspot, I want to go to you first. What do you know about Raisy, and what do you think if you got a chance to see him?
So first of all, I'm starting a rumor that he's related to Zoot, and I'm going to continue perpetuating that. Just take a look. It's undeniable. Second of all, when we were backstage yesterday watching his game against Toxic, the one thing, in particular Red Eye, but they were all going on about was his movement.
Yeah.
He moves like a CS player. He's got that slow, like sudden, like flick shot movement. He doesn't move around like a CPM player in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I mean, focused on the aim, and even his card said he out-aimed Toxic, which is not something that, you know, normally you do. And it was more than just that. It wasn't just like, hey, here's some fresh blood with aim. It was the brain. The brain was there too.
Yeah, Raisy was really great at recognizing when he could push and recognizing fragging opportunities. It is so critical in duel to recognize and get that frag. In fact, we can even go back to our last match. How many times did Cooler get away with just a little bit of health, and then he would end up restacking, and he ended up with the frag. And so if you can't let great players, and these are all great players, you can't let them get away. They will rebuild that stack. That will make it difficult on you. And yeah, so I give Raisy, I think he's really good about recognizing those situations. He showed it in Toxic, and of course, you got to have the aim to back it up.
Yep, you do. And of course, his opponent is no pushover. We mentioned that he is looking for potentially a third QuakeCon championship in a row. Is none other than Rapha, 28 years old, and certainly no stranger to multiple iterations of Quake. He is the current QuakeCon champion, and no one has ever hat-tricked before. You know, we've casted, I feel like, thousands of games of Rapha, Tosspot. What do you think about not only Shane and overall at this tournament, but also in this particular matchup? Because I think this is not an easy match, and no one has an easy one, but this is a tough one.
So I didn't get to see his game against Kula because we were casting the Galasak Kilson game on stream 2. I think the most important thing to know about Rapha is no matter what, consummate professional. Like, Rapha will have taken that loss very, very badly, and he will have, like, beat himself up about it overnight, and he will have come back much stronger as a result. Like, that is one guy who does not take losing lightly. If he didn't think he could win a tournament, he wouldn't show up to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. And we did talk a little bit, you know, day one, he was playing Team Sacrifice. There is a lot of stamina that goes into playing over the course of 8 hours a day. You know, even Toxic seemed much more refreshed after going through that Sacrifice grind yesterday. So, you know, I posed the question, will Rapha be in the same boat? And I mean, we really won't know until the games begin. But here, real quickly, are the maps. We've got Raisy taking on Corrupted Keep. Rapha's going to throw out Blood Covenant. I say throw out as in he chooses. And the final map will be Blood Run. So I think these maps kind of represent, you know, not surprising picks from either of these players, but I don't know. We're about to go in the matchup. Really, final thoughts, really quick final thoughts.
Playing in a tournament is very grueling, so I think we're going to see a refresh Shane today.
I think Zoot's going to win. I mean, Raisy's going to win it. I'm backing him just based off what we saw yesterday. Clear brain, no pressure on him. He can't lose, given what he's done so far.
Yep, and keep in mind that if you made it out of your groups, you did win yourself $10,000. So everyone that's been playing here is in the money, but these are crucial matchups because they mean that every one you win, you continue to win more. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to jump right into the action, and taking you on this journey, it's Blue and Jahar.
All right, thank you very much, CJ. Wait, we're already live with the first map here. Jumping into it once again, rapha versus Raisy. And Raisy wanted to start it off by setting a trap. Unfortunately, things didn't end up going so well for him there, as Rapha trying to wrap around him here, looking for some great damage with the rails. The problem is Rapha's also taking some heat from it range here too. He's getting hit quite a bit. Already had to pop off his injection, so he's been brought down quite low, but at the same time, Raisy's already used the spit. He thinks he's good to fall back away over here inside of the green room to get the armor, but not the case. He has to go away and give that over to Rapha.
Yeah, of course, we're seeing Rapha already on the aggressive here. I mean, he's going to be trading off that Mega against Raisy and actually diving out the other way to get maybe a little bit more healthy. He's going to be seeing Raisy coming through the window and actually denying himself that 25 just for the moment, just for an opportunity to get maybe a couple bullets in on Raisy. Of course, there's a lot of stack to burn through there, but Rapha kind of playing it safe, going back through, giving him an out, making sure he's advantageous speed with the Anarchy. It's going to be useful for him here with armor coming up as well as Mega. It's a bit of an option select as far as which one to go into. Rapha's going to be trying to give himself some options, but no, the LG from Raisy is just strong enough to push him over the edge. You know that Rapha was calculating how long he could stay in that fight. Maybe did not quite anticipate that Raisy's LG would be that insane.
It was so close to getting the injection, but Raisy maybe pushed the advantage a little bit too much. Remember, he's still injured from that last fight a little bit, 12 HP, as he tries to run away inside of the sunroom now. He's got a couple bubbles waiting inside here, but the problem is Rapha's waiting for him, but the spin at the last second lets him get that second kill. And there we go, it's Raisy in quick control. This is looking a lot like that Toxic set from yesterday, getting these kills so quickly on his own map pick. This one may be pushing it a little bit too much, though. He's trying to stay alive. Rapha, he's already popped off the stealth too, but pushed back 30 HP. For whatever reason, though, it looks like Rapha's actually gonna let him escape.
Yeah, this is where Rapha really needs to start turning up the pressure. He's got a lot of time, but of course we're right back into that same old situation of a Nyx versus a Sorlag. And we've already seen how those opportunities to commit to a fight and commit to a frag just dwindle away so quickly. Raisy coming back through the red room is going to be coming into Mega, or actually through Mega. Nice little bit of spam from Rapha. That's also going to be giving away Rapha's position, however. So with 8 seconds left to Mega, Raisy's already kind of set up on top of it. Rapha knows that he has to kind of put the assault on Raisy. They both know exactly where each other is at, but it's going to come down to the damage. And Raisy's going to have a little bit more trouble hitting the machine gun than Rapha at that point, so they're going to even up a little bit, but here comes the Mega grab from Raisy, and it's clean. So again, Rapha has a lot of work to do.
Oh, Raisy now stuck inside of the red room here, waiting to see if Rapha's going to push on him. Last week on the rocket, gets a little bit of damage off onto him. Remember, again, Rapha's going to be incredibly squishy playing on that Nyx too, whereas Raisy's got a great stack built up. Nicely done with the control, the nail gun in range. They'll just take away quite a bit of that stack. He's taking out half of his armor. He's about to take off all the excess health he has too, but with spawns coming up in a moment, Raisy is going to be able to fall back and pick that up, and Rapha, unfortunately, peeks out into the open where he eats about 40 more damage too.
Even a couple nails against a Nyx puts you in a situation where, yeah, you kind of have to run back. You need to get in there, but there's the trap on the rocket launcher. Unless the Ghost Walk comes out, he has no way out of here. Raisy down to 83 health. He's looking for the 225s. That's going to open him up, but his LG, even aiming up, is just on target. So first round goes to Raisy.
Rapha in the stealth there just a little bit too long, unfortunately. Lets raisy get to the pickups on those bubbles, and that pretty much seals the deal right there. Rapha was already very low. I was surprised he continued the fight, to be honest, there, instead of falling back and looking to recover himself, but thought he could maybe press the advantage even with those health pickups. It wasn't the case. And with that, it's raisy takes quick control of round one here on our first map.
All right, coming back into it's going to be about who's getting the rocket first. It's going to be Rapha as that Anarchy, and again, I think we might see him try to put a bit of pressure on, try to make raisy worry a little bit, but with the Mega already under raisy's belt, he's got a little bit of steam to play with, and his movement through the window isn't exactly as clean as he wanted, so he's going to be opened up to a little bit more MG damage. He's taken a lot there. In fact, all of his armor's been knocked off just about here. He's got his back to it, 3 seconds left before it comes back up. He's got to watch out for the rockets, and actually he's opening himself up to spam from Rapha, even coming through the red room. Rapha putting on a bit of aggression. raisy picking up some pretty good speed, even outpacing Rapha just for the moment, long enough to get out of that fight. Coming back into Mega, it's going to be traded off items as they both need to get track of each other. There's the rockets coming around the corner. We're going to have to see where the nails go.
Rapha again here too, trying to keep up with raisy, but the analysts were talking about raisy's movement is so proficient, even on this sword leg right here too. He's doing a great job of that. Spit goes onto the floor, but Luke's dot is going to connect on the rapha. He uses the injection to try and stay alive, but that rocket connection might seal the deal. One more tick and he's a dead man. There you go. Another early kill from raisy.
That's all it takes sometimes. I mean, how many times have we seen Cooler do exactly the same thing with that Sorlax, but especially against the weaker champions like that. But we're going to be seeing Nick switched over for Rapha. And he's got to turn up the juice here a little bit. raisy coming back through the small armor room. He's going to be looking for a play through the teleporter. Items aren't coming up just yet, so this is an opportunity for Rapha to grab a rocket launcher and at least make his presence known. But he was looking the wrong way, and this is a ton of machine gun damage coming out of raisy, immediately putting Rapha on the back foot. And raisy, I'm sure, is going to want to take this armor and immediately go to Mega just to put some pressure on it. Even if Rapha gets away with it, he's going to be a little bit stuck. But look at this LG coming out of Rapha, absolutely insane, getting away with just a handful of health. Is there going to be a rocket coming out of Rapha? No, he wants to get out of the fight, but can he actually escape?
Raisy's so aggressive too with the way that he followed that up, just going right to the rim. But
there it
the
is.
fadeaway rocket as he's leaping through the air. There's that second kill from raisy, as once again dominating Rapha here in the second round, same as the last time. Right play starting it off here. 3v2 to start things off. Rapha being brought down low again, but so is raisy. Rapha may just be able to turn this around. raisy, though, has no interest in continuing this fight for the time being, despite how low he had Rapha there. Wants to make sure that he can stay alive. Oh, and keep Rapha low there, too, with another great little spam of LG.
And the problem here is that raisy's been able to take away so many of these 25s, leaving very little for Rapha to recover on it. Mega's up, he's going to be on the wrong side of the map. He's going to have to actually cross under raisy and try to completely get around him. He's not going to get caught here, but the Mega's still going to be up. He's just not quite willing to commit to that path. And I agree, it is rather dangerous, especially as raisy takes away all these items. Rapha finally getting some 25s as well as the heavy armor. It's going to come down to a little bit of spam, a little bit of prediction. We're going to have to see how it goes.
I do think Rapha was able to recover here now, but I think raisy knows he's sitting over there inside of the boneyard. Great rocket, full damage on that one. Jumping into it, though, he might be a little bit too aggressive here. He's able to dodge most of the damage, but leaping back on the LG. He knows he has him low because that rocket connection from before, but still chooses not to pursue it for the time being. However, Rapha's going to try to keep the heat on. It's close, but it is going to be in the favor of raisy, as once again takes fast control of the second round. 3-0, 2 rounds in a row.
This is deja vu. I mean,
This is the toxic set all over again, basically.
it really is. All right. But yeah, anytime we see raisy go head-to-head with this LG, he is just more than happy to take it toe-to-toe with Rapha and go, all right, you've got your LG, I've got mine, and guess what? I can hit all the 7s as well.
Raisy, look at this too, waiting. He knows that Rapha's sleeping around the room. He's going to try to do some damage with the nail gun. He picked up the LG too, so he does have that to work with. He wants to make the quick switch over to it. He's trying to chain together those 20s, though, if he can. He's got a good spray. Unfortunately, the connections just aren't really making this worth it at this point. You'll remember, too, he does not have rockets built up to say, oh, there you go. About 60 or so damage to Rapha, knocking off most of his armor. And speaking of armor, we do have the big green armor popping up now for raisy. He'll pick that up. He will give away the health in the process, but again, he's on Sorlag. That's not too big of a deal.
And of course, we all know and love Rapha for being able to adapt to situations, but what we saw yesterday against Cooler is that maybe didn't quite happen in the match, but now he doesn't really have much of a choice. He's got to realize that, okay, maybe the LG is not the best thing to go toe-to-toe with raisy against, and already we're seeing a little bit more distance being created. Rapha spending a little bit more time at making sure he's got weapons and an angle. A little bit of a love there from the LG, but there's a little bit of a push in the boneyard. raisy dropping down, ready for this Mega, but we've already got a little bit of rocket spam coming from Rapha, and look at this trap. He actually denies himself the Mega just for a moment to go for the trap, and right under the bridge goes for the rocket pop to the LG. Fantastic shots.
Bouncing him into the air, and then the spit pops to finish him off there, taking him out of the running. Raisy's still in a bit of a tough spot, though. Only has his base HP to work with currently, as he was not able to go in and get himself any of the extra pickups, and if he did, that health has already been reduced back down. Rapha fresh off the spawn on the Anarchy. He's going to try to keep the heat over here onto raisy, try to keep the pressure on. The problem is, though, is that he just cannot keep up with that health pool from raisy. He's constantly recovering it, constantly getting power-up pickups, too, so raisy's always in a good position.
It takes so much confidence to be able to leave an item up, knowing that leaving that item up will give you just the second that you need to commit to a fight against your opponent that they're not expecting. And Rapha not expecting a fight is a very rare occurrence indeed, but we've got the Spit giving raisy a lot of information here. He's still looking very strong with the Sorlag, going for the rocket jump, might even catch him up here at rocket launcher. In fact, if you can hear him back here in the hallways, he should be able to flush him out. It's actually fletching him down through. He's going on a full chase here. It's very hard to catch up with an Anarchy, but raisy nearly did it. In fact, backing off just for a second, going for the shot. Can't quite get a rocket launcher out. He's a little bit late, but he's soon enough to get that rocket on the Anarchy, leaving Rapha with only a Nyx now.
This point doesn't seem to matter how many mistakes raisy makes right there. You saw he switched his weapon like 3 to 4 times while Rapha just unloading on him with an LG, but somehow he still ended up winning that fight. Rapha chose not to go through the portal, and just ate 2 direct rocket hits, essentially.
That stack certainly does go a long way, but Rapha has an even longer way to go now. I mean, he's down 2 frags. This is his last possible round here on Corrupted Keep. Gonna have to see if he can keep an advantage here against raisy. The rockets and LG are fantastic. raisy down to 20. Health is actually pushing for it, tries to go for the armor, but Rapha stuck around for the frag, and now he's making it a little bit more doable. If he can find and track down this Anarchy very quickly, well, there he is behind the statue, but here comes the damage, and oh, just a little bit too early, just a small error of timing on the Mega gives Rapha this frag and keeps him in the fight.
And there we go. It seems like he's finally found a way to abuse raisy's aggressiveness here, and he's doing it again. raisy being brought down low, but Rapha's also low here too. raisy has to make a decision. Does he want to continue this fight, or does he want to preserve his own life? As now he's fallen back. He's on the Galena there, so he does have the ability to set up those totems and play a longer game here too. But now that it's down to the 1v1, these players will have to try and kill each other. Timer won't matter much at this point.
And when you're playing Nyx, you're not going to be barreling around the map like an Anarchy or a Slash, so running into those totems is going to be a little bit harder, but again, they can give so much information if raisy can get some good placements here, if you can survive long enough to even get him out. But here comes an aggressive play from Rapha with the Ghost Walk, finding raisy at the lower armor, and actually looking for him through the door. This is going to be good spam to force him back into the rocket launcher. Gets this the one nail, but as you can see, raisy doesn't have a fantastic stack. A little will go a very long way. Rapha's going to break off the fight just to go for armor, just to go for control here. He's got 3 seconds to get back into Mega if he decides he wants to show up. He won't really be able to throw down a rail, obviously, but here comes a good rocket. Certainly worthwhile. Even gets a little bit of a pop there, making his presence known.
Pretty much knocks out all the excess health, and there we go. There's the spam to melt it down on the LG. Rapha finally getting back into this map now as he claims his first round. 2-1.
Staying in it. I mean, he's got a long road ahead to take Corrupted Keep back, but for the moment, he's bought himself a little bit of a breather.
So into the next round we go. Rapha still up on the rails a little bit. I mean, he almost lost that round in the same fashion. It was almost another straight 3-0. He turned it around at the very last few moments there as he was able to get aggressive himself, pick up a couple of those kills against raisy, and finally get him off that Sorlag too. That seemed to be the key for him there. That Sorlag was just so hard to deal with when he knocked it out. The other 2 kills were relatively easy for Rapha to pick up.
Well, it's a bit of a rough start for him. He's been denied both the Mega and the armor. I mean, he's going to need a lot of initial and free damage without getting anything in return to even that back up. But 1 rocket so far so good. He's got a bit of a trail on raisy right now. raisy's actually not really looking the right way here, but with Mega coming up in just a second, Rapha's gonna be showing up in the door just for a little bit of spam, just the 1 nail, just enough to, you know, let him know he's there. But we've got the armor coming up as well. Actually spamming it, nails out of the teleporter is a great counter, and the damage is great. Popping back through, almost even goes for the telefrag, but there's the LG. Fantastic aggression, and that opening nail gun damage really opening things up for Rapha.
raisy's spawning pretty close to the LG though, so he might try to find a way to chase down Rapha pretty quickly here since he already has him relatively low. You let him survive for too long here, so he's already been able to recover most of it, getting these 25 pickups. Even when raisy comes out in the open over there by the lava, it's still not enough. Rapha's pretty much fully recovered his HP, but raisy now moving in. He is going to be able to take control of Mega Health. Fights a little bit there first before going for it, but works out well. He's able to recover that. Rapha actually mistimed this armor pickup a little bit, so he's going to have to go back and grab that. It's not too big of a deal currently though, but he's going to take a little bit of damage coming back through that portal.
Rapha still has plenty of health. He has armor. He has all these advantages, and even allowing raisy to get a Mega as a Anarchy, it's not a huge problem. That LG will actually be a bit of a problem, especially with him coming into it. But like you said, he's figuring out the counter to the aggression. Just stay still for a second, let him come to you. And that is twice now he has.
raisy just walks right into the spit as well, so it just gets by. You can see the metal that Rapha got there, connected all 3 of the globs from the spit, so beautifully done by Rapha. Sets the trap, springs it, and just melts raisy's health pool before he can really do anything to Rapha there.
And so once again, we have this Galena in the back pocket, but we haven't seen her abilities used all that often, just because once you're down to champions, your opponent already has armor, he already has control, he already has weapons, and being able to set back up, you really have to try to grind the game down to a halt, but he might not get an opportunity here. Here comes the spit, here comes the LG. Rapha still at 120 HP, crossing the top of the map. He's using the spit to get information. He's looking for the last rocket, looking for the last nail. Maybe a machine gun would be useful here. I don't know, I've seen that happen before, but we've got Rapha now taking over the armor, crossing the top of the map. We've actually got raisy crossing over to rocket launcher. Rapha trying to close it off and doubling back around again. The turnaround is going so far for Rapha. The damage is good, and Raisy's definitely on the back leg.
It just said like 97 damage to Raisy though, but Raisy's still able to recover for. Remember, he has those totems around the map that he can run to and heal himself up a little bit if needed. So he's still going to keep himself at a pretty high amount of HP. Rapha's got 2 jobs to do now. He's not only going to hunt down his opponent, but also try to be careful watching out for these totems and try to take them down so that Raizy doesn't just have these free health pickups that he can go for constantly either.
I mean, technically, he only has to wait 2 minutes to close this thing off, but I mean, he has a lot of respect for Raisy's ability to do damage. He doesn't want to allow him too much of a leash, but really good damage on that rocket. Another one as Raisy keeps trying to push it forward. Rapha still has plenty of this mega as he comes around the corner, and this spit might actually go a long way to giving Rapha all the information he needs to recover here.
Rapha's going to fall away from this one, though. I don't think he's going to take a fight right now. He's way too low. He only has 50 HP, and that was after picking up, 125 there. So he's going to be able to recover pretty quickly, though, because there's a pretty good run you can get on this map to get like 5 or 6 25 bubbles in a row. So that's why the heavies do pretty well on this map. But, oh, there's another rocket. Great rockets for him overall in this 1v1 that we've been seeing so far. But still low, as he got hit by quite a bit of LG damage from range there. Moves in, knocks out one of the totems, push back, 17 HP. That'll give him more speed to run away from his opponent here. And remember, Rapha, as you were mentioning before, can just wait out the timer if he wants to. So that's exactly what he's doing right now. He knows he might end up dying here, so he's just trying to delay that for as long as possible. Raisy does finally take him down now and brings it over to the 2v1.
Raisy taking a page out of Cooler's book there with the last shot on the machine gun. Really well done there. But again, even waiting for the clock to burn out is sort of an act of waiting. You have to do enough damage to your opponent to keep them off their back, keep them thinking about getting 25s and armored items. And once you're not Sorlag anymore, it's a little bit harder to do that. Rapha can bide a little bit of time with Nyx, but he's already used the Ghost Walk. He doesn't have it available right now, so if Raisy goes on the hunt, maybe he can corner Rapha.
Yeah, Rapha just on the run right now. He wants to take this to the timer for sure. He's going to be sitting over here in the ramp hallway. Raisy will go for the check in a second. Both of them have rockets out ready to go, but it's Raisy that gets the spot first. He's got him in the hole. And look at this now, Raisy leaping over his opponent, gets that second kill. Rapha can't wait for that timer anymore. He's got to close it out.
Oh man, so now we have Galena versus Anarchy. I mean, this very well could go into overtime if Rapha can stay alive long enough to get weapons. Raisy doesn't really know where Rapha's at right now, but that rocket might give him some information. There's 63 damage dealt out. Here comes more LG from Rapha. Raisy going in for the kill. It's going to be a very close one. Raisy going for the chase this time, but actually backing off this time, just trying to get a little bit of hourglass, get another totem down on the board. 10 seconds to overtime, and Rapha might want it that way, but there's the rockets coming out of the teleporter. Fantastic damage. Here's the closer, and just at the last second, it gives himself the round, putting us into a tiebreaker here on Corrupted Keep.
You could see what Raisy wanted to do. He didn't have enough time to actually throw another totem down and use the heal, so he still had one sitting up in that side room over there. He wanted to try and navigate to it, but Rapha thankfully quickly switches over to the LG, and the pushback on that is enough to keep him away from it. Closing out on his own second round, completing the reversal now, and taking this all the way to round 5, 2-2. But look at how aggressive Raisy. This is back in rounds 1 and 2. What we're seeing from him, he dives into the fight against Rapha after getting himself that mega health, and he's already got Rapha a little bit lower here.
No, you cannot get those 225s when your opponent's chasing you like that. I mean, that LG is just so dangerous from Raisy. I mean, at least Rapha's able to get some stack back up, and he's already got rocket launcher, something that he's denied Raisy so far. Raisy's still a little bit on the chase, but that's an opportunity for Rapha to actually force Raisy to react to his movement. So Rapha going silent just for a moment as we have 2 dinos going for the clash here. Coming over the top through the teleporter, Raisy catches a little bit of a sight of that Sorlag, but there's the grab for the Mega back through to the LG. He's going to be getting plenty of ammo there, but eating a little bit of damage from that MG.
And now Raisy waiting it out. So now it's a little bit of damage to the rocket, but some has returned to him too. Same as before, both of them just dodging rockets now to try to whip off a little bit of damage onto each other, but neither one connecting a huge amount just to justify a full engagement.
All right, so Raisy here, happy to have this health stack. Just looking for Rapha to actually come to him, and it looks like Raisy's actually doing a little bit of adapting himself. I mean, these guys are going to be showing more and more respect to each other's aim and ability to create these situations. So I actually kind of fear that that creates situations where neither of them have a good read on their opponent. But there's a good read from Rapha with the rockets. Beautiful amount of damage there with a lot of time before Mega comes back up. That last fadeaway rocket from Raisy absolutely turning the table on that fight. Rapha might have been thinking about chasing, but he cannot afford to do so now. Raisy will have to cross through the bottom end of the map in order to have a showing on the armor. And, you know, he might be thinking about it here.
Rapha finally got an LG pickup too. I'm pretty sure that prior to that, Rapha was actually denied access to this room, so he was never able to go back in and get an LG pickup. That was the first time he was able to get it, and now you can see the difference. He pushes back in, the spit comes out. Remember, that's not going to affect an enemy store lag there. They're immune to it. So Raisy, a little bit low, 69 HP, but he returns quite a bit of damage. Rapha, he's out of armor now, basically even HPs. Rapha does not want to continue this fight, runs away, is going to go on that health glow pickup run. Was able to escape for the time being, and now he's got Raisy in a bad spot as I'm trapped in the sunroom and over here towards Mega Health, and Raisy basically just trying to survive here.
It is such a narrow margin now between being dead even like they are and, well, dead. We're looking for a little bit more nail spam across the bridge. That's going to be giving away Raisy's position. But of course, Rapha's kind of figured out, okay, he's sticking back here on the Mega side of the map. He's got armor, he's got Mega, he's got all the bare necessities for a happy life. But we're going to have to see a little bit of spam. I mean, there aren't as many angles that create easy damage towards the Mega, and really good machine gun damage coming out of Raisy as well. But he's finally crossing over to armor, knowing he's got plenty of time. He's got split item timing between the armor and the Mega, and he could go for full denial against Rapha here.
Rapha giving Raisy a lot of room, though, considering how low he was just a few moments ago. But Raisy diving into the fight, and that's beautiful spam on the LG. Pushes him into the corner, gives him no room to maneuver. Raisy pounces, and now he's got that first kill on the round.
Between Nyx and Anarchy, Rapha's actually going for the Nyx here. There's Mega taken away by Raisy, and we're going to have to look for some rocket spam to do some of that chip damage against Raisy here. But he's a little bit early for this armor. He's actually mistimed it a little bit. There's an opportunity for Rapha to dive in, go for maybe, I don't want to call that an aggressive ghost walk. That was like, oh, dang, I don't want to be here. Never mind. I'm getting out of here. But that does leave him about 40 seconds where, yeah, Raisy knows that he just cannot get away from these fights, just like now. And there's the LG down to only Anarchy here. And once again, this is the tie-breaking round on Corrupted Keep. This is Rapha's last life.
That's ultimately where Rapha makes a fatal mistake, too, in using that stealth early on, not realizing that Raisy was sitting inside of the armor room. So he whiffs that stealth earlier on, basically does nothing with it either except escaping from the room, and then leaves himself extremely vulnerable in the boneyard for Raisy to chase him down and, again, lock him down with the LG.
At this point, Raisy has to be thinking, I've got 150 and 100, but I'm also just going to go full ham against my opponent and try to go for it. But the rocket damage from Rapha is excellent, but there's the last little bit of spit to get the frag done. GG called by Rapha as the first map goes to Raisy.
Raisy shutting it down, and until those those last couple rounds in between there, where Rapha was able to come back and pick up the 2-0, it was looking like Raisy was just going to completely 3-0 this one and dominate it. It was only after Rapha was finally able to adapt a little bit and kind of make Raisy play a bit more passively that he finally started picking up a couple rounds for himself. We saw it there in round 5. Raisy finally got back into his groove. He was able to play more aggressively again and really shut down the situation like he was doing back in rounds 1 and 2.
Oh, fantastic stuff. But, after watching both Raisy and Zoot play, I'm not sure I can corroborate the rumor that they're related.
Yeah. Well, Raisy has the advantage here. 1-0, and if he can claim this second map, then he'll have quite the upset, taking out the previous 2-time QuakeCon champion right here in the round of 16.
And I'm sure both of them right now are putting a lot of thought into their champion choice. I mean, playing in and around that Sorlag really affects the meta quite a bit. And having an answer to the Sorlag, even if it's a Sorlag of your own, it's a really tight game. It's a really tight decision, especially as we potentially move into Blood Covenant, actually. Here's where the Railgun comes back into play. Here's where there's a lot of opportunities to hide, to go silent, to get the traps on these items. And, well, I'm actually waiting with bated breath to see what these picks are, and it looks like both of these guys are as well. We've actually got Sorlag and Anarchy out of these guys already, and Anarchy on Blood Covenant is just fine, so there's a bit of the mirror pick. It's going to be Nyx and Galena again. Interesting. We haven't seen, yeah, there's a lot of room to cover. There's a couple teleports, a couple jump pads, especially on the Mega. There are opportunities to use it, but you kind of have to create your own safe spaces there as that Galena. But again, how many times are we going to see that Galena used as the last champion, and you just don't have enough time to make good on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising to see it used on Blood Covenant out of anything, because, I mean, Blood Run, Corrupted Keep, Ruins, it does a great job because the maps use quite a bit of portal play, and because of that, that's where the totems are going to come into play, because a lot of the time you won't realize that a portal might have gotten placed down, and you essentially just run into it there and blow yourself up, unfortunately. But on a map, on a map like Blood Covenant, there's not as much usage of the portals, or it's very predictable when someone does put a totem down in front of a portal there, so it's not as effective on this map. So it's a bit surprising to see it used here, compared to all the other maps where we see it used a lot more often.
That being said, in the Raisy Toxic match, in the Rapha Cooler match, we saw so many of the frags revolve around the teleporter across pillars, and having a totem there might make Rapha think twice about wanting to commit to it. So I can definitely see the tactical value here. We're just going to have to see if it actually comes out in play.
And there are a lot of like really small doors that you have to try and leap through. So maybe the totem is going to be able to come in and be effective in those situations. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out if we do end up seeing raisy push down to it. But with the way that some of these rounds played out, that may be an uncommon occurrence. We will have to see how this goes, as now we've finally begun, folks. And to start it off, Rapha's trying to go for the hard counter right from the start. He goes right over here to the store line, and they jump right into the fight, but Rapha actually dominates it. The quick switch over to the rocket, and he takes control early on here.
It takes so much composure to be able to lay down those rockets when your opponent is LGing you like that. But look at these nails, and Raisy's actually able to get out of there with 10 health intact. Well, I say intact, but it looks like Rapha might be on the run here, on the chase, and yeah, catching Raisy. So that is 2 frags, making a very immediately strong push here on DM6.
And as Rapha taking a page out of Raisy's book, it seems here now, is he's the one that's gotten very aggressive here and pushed Raisy down to that Galena very, very quickly within the first, what, like 30, 40 seconds of the round here. Now he's been brought down to that one. And oh, as well, gets the engagement, gets the prize jump on Raisy. Has already brought him down to 75 HP, knocked out all the original armor that he picked up when he spawned. So now he's going to try to run him. He's got him into a corner here. The totem is not ready to go, so there you go. Rapha just completely destroys Raisy in round 1.
Beautifully predicted. Came right around that corner, and he was almost pre-firing that spit. He was ready for it. He knew where that Galena was going to be running, and a really solid first round, a really fast one. And that's actually kind of dangerous here for Raisy, as I'm sure he wanted that to last maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, that might actually throw him off a little bit here too, so he's got to be careful to make sure that he can reset himself pretty quickly and not get affected by these things, as that's a huge change of pace from Rapha, and that's definitely going to mess up his thinking pattern a bit about how he's expected Rapha to play up to this point anyway.
All right, so as we go into round 2, not quite the explosive start like we saw last round. They're giving themselves a little bit more distance, but we do have Rapha taking away LG rail and rockets, but it's going to be spit on spit. Here comes the LG immediately, and you just see how insane Raisy's LG is here as he's still on the chase, and the rocket goes a little bit wide. It actually collides against the floor instead of Raisy's dome like I'm sure he wanted.
Rapha might have wanted to try to jump up to the bridge too, and that's why he might have taken that extra damage, so he ends up going down bright and early here, and it's Raisy that gets the original advantage on the Store-like v Store-like fight.
That's almost the same rocket situation that Zorak War had against Rapha years ago, so I'm not sure if the torches is being passed in that regard. But we've got Raisy up here at Railgun. He's already got all the weapons he needs. He's also kind of got Rapha on the run. He's going to have to force him into using that Ghost Walk here pretty soon if he takes any more damage, but he's really waiting as long as he can, trying to get a few more rockets in himself, forcing Raisy to back off, hopefully without having to use the Ghost Walk.
Rapha actually took that fight in a pretty smart spot too, because I think he did have a couple health pickups sitting around that area, and he was able to use that to kind of extend the fight for a bit longer. Didn't even end up using the Ghost Walk at the end of the fight.
And so that could mean everything here, because Raisy has Mega, he has a little bit of armor, and when you're on a cooldown from Ghost Walk, well, like we saw in Corrupt the Keep, it's so dangerous just to be a Nyx on the map there. But we've got the rail coming around the corner. Yep, just the hit and run coming out of Rapha as he takes the jump pad right back up. He might even have a little bit of rocket advantage here if Raisy goes the wrong way.
He kind of has to do this on the Nyx. Too Good was talking about on the desk about how you really cannot take a close-up fight against a Sword lag when you're playing a super light character like Nyx. So once again, we're seeing that here. He is trying to just jump in, get these quick picks off on the rail before he does finally dive back in to get the kill.
But of course, that sword lag's not super loud either, so, you know, hearing your opponent and trying to open up those rail angles and rail opportunities, well, as we just saw, Raisy has made Rapha have to think twice immediately, and coming down here to the lower armor is such a great place to be. It's not a great place to get stuck, however, and there's the Ghost Walk being used, so now Raisy might well be on the hunt, but doesn't have to hunt for long, as that rail coming around the corner finds him just at the right moment.
Nicely done. Peeks around the corner, gets the quick shot off, and now brings Rapha down. Let's get a nice little replay onto that one as well.
Jeez.
Like instinct too. You saw a turn there a few seconds before that replay actually started, that you really quickly heard him jumping outside of the stealth. Rapha was just so close to getting it. Now Rapha will lose his last champion to a very quick round 2. A bit of a slower start there, but once things started, they never stopped as Raisy takes control, and we quickly tie ourselves up at 1-1.
You know, I think we might need to recalibrate what we're calling slow and fast here. I mean, these guys are changing it up every single round, but here we go once again. We got Rapha spawning on bridge. That's going to give him rocket launcher immediately. Raisy's going to be down by the armor, giving him mega health and LG. That leaves the rail up for either of them. Raisy moving up top and maybe going for a bit of a grab here, but he's trying to stay quiet. We can actually hear Rapha down below, and this is actually an opportunity. Raisy's actually going for damage instead of the rail. He knows he has an opportunity to make this fight happen and go his way. He's got the initial damage, finally throws out that spit, gets a couple ticks on it, and even with 30 health, he's still in it, looking for the last couple ticks on the LG, and there it is.
I saw that switch in the camera for a second. I thought that Raisy had actually died too, because looking with the third person, but Thankfully not. Raisy stays alive, but rapha's going to push the advantage and quickly trade that kill back. Both players are going to lose their Sorlag very quickly.
And that's actually major. You don't really have much time when you spawn up as an Anarchy to take that Sorlag right back down once you know that they've taken a risky fight. So the fact that rapha was able to find raisy and do just enough damage to force that frag, that is huge, really.
We're going to see raisy jump through the portal pretty quickly, trying to take this fight. Edge up a little bit of rocket damage in the process. But does manage to circumnavigate himself around here really heavily at sticking with the LG there. Not trying to use the rail just yet. I don't even think he's been able to pick it back up, but oh, that was a mistake from raisy, going right up the jump pad and right into the crosshairs of rapha, who just melts him down.
Once again, we see rapha just doing a lot of work just by staying still. I mean, anytime you can bait your opponent into taking that jump pad, they just open themselves up to you playing duck hunt with them with that LG. I mean, it's a lot of fun too once you can make those things happen. But there's the Galena coming out from raisy. Last life here. We're only a minute and 30 seconds in. rapha has a lot of incentive to force this fight and make it a clean one. He's actually looking for him down here at the 25. Once a lot of the 25s are taken on the map, you don't have a lot of other options. But there's Galena healing herself on the totem, but it won't be doing much as there's two 90 damage rails coming out of rapha.
Yeah, rapha's gonna go and kill that totem, make sure it's not a problem again later on if he needs to go through that portal, and then he falls back, takes the armor out of the hands of raisy, and raisy, I guess, just didn't realize this. He dives into the fight, so just gives that last kill over to rapha, and he gets the 2-1.
You have to be so careful when your opponent's Anarchy and armor's up and you don't know where they're at coming there, especially with the health that raisy didn't have. I want to call that one risky.
Yeah, quite a few questionable moves there from raisy over the course of that round. That jump pad move as well when he was on a second champion, probably not the best idea. So ends up losing that one pretty handily. Now we go into it. rapha as well. He's going to be the one that chased down raisy earlier on in the round. It's pretty much just the reverse of what we have, but he walks right into the spit, and raisy gets that quick reversal there in order to be able to pick up the first kill again on this round.
And unfortunately this time I don't think rapha can reverse it himself with the Anarchy. I mean, raisy's already got 150, 100. He's got no rail just yet. He's going to be coming back up on bridge. Might be looking for rapha to go for the grab himself. Actually, he's still looking for rapha on the spawn, kind of beautifully timed on the rocket jump, and rapha just barely putting the brakes on himself there just to back out of that fight. Unfortunately, he doesn't get a rail out of that either, so raisy has really given himself a huge advantage in the long-range game.
He did get him to use the spit, though, so he doesn't have to worry about that for a little bit longer since raisy's sticking around in this room. Granted, if raisy does go mobile again and he's able to get a couple cooldown pickups, he'll have that spit up in no time.
Absolutely. So rapha, I mean, not having that rail, that certainly makes his life a little bit harder here. It's going to come down to a little bit of nail gun on the bridge, maybe. I mean, raisy, this is usually a dangerous stairway to go, but when you know your opponent doesn't have rail, it's a little bit safer, for sure.
Raisy, along with rapha, both trading out blows over here, but ultimately, raisy's going to be able to move in, takes the Mega away from rapha, but rapha's also going to trade this, I think. No, actually, he bypasses the armor. He's still sitting down below inside of the shotgun room. Raisy's just going to walk right up, get himself the double stack. rapha didn't even seem to make an attempt to go for the armor there.
Yeah, I mean, he just knows he just doesn't have an ability to do much damage at the long range, but, you know, who needs the long range when you have acid spit like that? rapha just absolutely melted down to his nicks here. This is possibly going to go to another 5 rounds.
Now, raisy pushing into this now. He's got him down on the Nyx. The Nyx has already popped off the stealth solo, and there we go! He missed the full jump pad, so raisy's able to easily close out as his opponent's falling from the sky. Raisy claims his second round, and as you mentioned, we go all the way once again here on map 2.
I cannot remember the last time I saw rapha say lol in a tournament match. I mean, he's usually, like we said, all business all the time, super professional. But that, you know, I agree, kind of amusing. You try to use the wall jump from Nyx to make a quieter and safer way up the jump pad, but it backfired on him there.
Remember here too, raisy already has the first map in the bag, so if he wins this round, he'll take this series and knock the previous QuakeCon champion out of the tournament. The fight begins as the Sorlags will be fighting each other. Raisy ends up on the bottom side though, so he's in a dangerous spot, but he somehow completes the kill anyway. rapha tries to press his advantage again and loses his Sorlag at the beginning of this round.
rapha has to be absolutely insane here in order to do any damage against raisy. I mean, there's raisy waiting for this Mega. He looks like he's going to get it. It's going to be traded off with the armor, which is actually bad news for rapha. That window to do free damage against raisy has now closed. It's going to be a much tougher fight for him now, but it looks like he's finally going to be able to get a railgun here. He's not punished for it either. He doesn't quite make the jump to bridge, so there's no rocket launcher for him, but also no close range fight against raisy. rapha is going to be looking for a way back up there. I mean, he wants that rocket launcher. Raisy knows that he's looking at that rocket launcher long and hard, but rapha knows that it's not going to be safe.
Now rapha's just sitting over here on the mid-bridge trying to see if he can find a way, also waiting for this armor spawn to come back up too. He's going to be able to go in and get that for free. As he falls back over, gets the pickup. Raisy, in the meanwhile, still scouting on his side of the map, not looking to jump back in just yet. They'll spot each other out in this hallway, and Raisy, you can see they're trying to take a rail shot. They ended up hitting, but now Rapha's got himself rockets a little bit to work with here. Close-up shots as well, bounces his opponent. Another great follow-up. He does have to use the injection as he gets spit on, so he's going to end up pretty low here. With a couple extra pickups, he's right back to pretty much full HP.
Those rockets have got to keep Raisy off his back, but as you can see, he's still back in this, and Rapha's railable and rocketable. He is so low on health, only 22. He's trying to run out of here. He's going to get it, but as you can see, Raisy's incredibly low as well, as they're both dashing around the map, trying to recover. It could be dangerous for either of them if they run into each other, both fighting over the same 25. Rapha going for the jump pad. Does he know that Raisy's right behind him? He turns right around. Raisy getting no damage out of that fight. A nice 45 damage rocket, and Rapha is pushing forward. This LG should be good. If he can survive the spits, that should make things much, much better for him.
The question here is Raisy going to try to take him down before he can fully recover. He's already pretty much back up to full, though. He's 75 out of 76, and with half armor built up here, too. And, oh, Rapha even reads into Raisy going up the jump pad there. He's able to hear him doing that, so knocks out quite a bit of Raisy's HP. He does have the mega health coming back up, though, so he's going to pick that up pretty quickly. But Rapha has the mega armor.
The fact that Sorlag is taken out of the map, though, is so important for Rapha. I mean, that was a huge moral and actual victory here. It gives him a much better standing here. I mean, you're right. We do have Raisy immediately able to take control of some important items here, and a little bit goes a long way between these guys. But here comes the LG. Are they going to make this just an LG fight? Nope. Rapha's deciding he's too pro for that. He's not going to be wanting to make that fight an easy one. So he's going back up top pillars, making sure he has every actual advantage he can use.
I don't even know if Rapha feels that he can actually win an LG fight versus Raisy at this point, too, because Raisy's been keeping the pressure on him, and in a lot of those situations, he's been dominating him, so he might not have wanted to take him just an open combat there. That's why he fell back, quick switch over to the rockets. Didn't realize, though, that in going over to this hallway, his opponent got behind him, and Raisy gets a super long-range rail shot. A second one connects. He returns it this time. It is going to force the injection pop on both players, but going into it, Raisy takes him down, and now Rapha, the prior QuakeCon champion, is on to his last champion.
Rapha's attempt to deny the rail to Raisy actually cost him the rail, and it allowed Raisy to get those 2 consecutive hits, opening him up for that frag. And you're right, Rapha is on his last life here in the playoffs. Raisy across the map, making sure that he's controlling that rail, that all-important weapon here. He's going to be coming back into mid-map against that Nyx. I mean, he just wants to do enough damage to force Rapha into that Ghost Walk situation, but here's Rapha using it aggressively. Is the damage going to be good? But there's the immediate LG return from Raisy, and you're right. Rapha has absolutely found a lot of respect for that LG. Does not want to make that happen, but there's the rail finally taken away by Rapha. That might be everything he needs to make this fight happen. Armor's taken away, 3 seconds. We're going to see Rapha taking away Mega as well, and they're going to be clashing somewhere in the middle. Raisy's actually crossing over to the small armor side as they both go silent.
Let's get that pillar to help him out, too. If Rapha decided to go down below, sees him leaping across. Oh, somehow hits that rail shot, too. Just a pixel off, and now he's going to leap back up. He's got him in the corner. The southpaw comes out. Rapha's not going to move, though. He's going to stay right inside of that corner. Won't be chasing down that kill. Remember the timer as well. 45 seconds left. Rapha is down by a champion currently, so he needs to get at least 1 kill within that timer.
At this moment, Rapha just has nothing going for him. No ability. Raisy has all the speed. He has Mega. Fortunately, Rapha's been able to recover to the point where he can absorb a rail, but not much more than that. We've already seen how aggressive Raisy can get. It's going to come down to who can evade the damage, who can wait the longest. But there's finally Rapha getting that power back up, getting that ability back up. And we have LG coming out of him. Where's the switch from Raisy? He's down to 50 health. We've got Rapha with barely any health left over. Raisy crossing the map back over to armor. He's got nothing here. And there's the rail from Rapha out of nowhere. Rapha has stayed in this. He's only got the sudden death now between Raisy and Rapha. It's going to be that Galena. And Raisy has a little bit of extra stack to play with. Here comes the play from the totems as well. But I'm sure they're both wanting to take a breather. But here comes the rockets from Rapha. Raisy losing all of his armor. We've got 120 health left for Raisy as he's just trying to stay alive down here in pillars.
Raisy almost had it, was just a few seconds away from eliminating Rapha, but now it goes down to the 1v1. And originally, Raisy's gonna be in a bad spot here. Rapha's gonna press the advantage, and with that, Rapha holds on! He stays alive and wins the match! 3-2, taking this to a final map on map number 3.
Definitely one of the most tense moments possible here at QuakeCon, having the 2-time champion possibly knocked out in, what, the first round of playoffs? What is this?
He was like 5 seconds away as well from losing that round via the timer, so Raisy probably going to be a little bit disappointed about the result of that match, but now he's got to get ready to jump right back into it as we're going into a third map here in a few moments.
I can't tell. I mean, look at him. He looks the same as he always looks, but, you know, you could say the same about Rapha. I've seen Rapha enough that I know his kind of tells, you know, that thumb up on his cheek like that. Yeah, he's feeling the pressure for sure. Raisy, look at him.
He looks the same.
He's a statue.
I'm amazed, to be honest with you. So we should be jumping into that third map, guys, in a moment. And again, I'm going to be curious to see if any of the champion selects will be a little bit different. I'm definitely assuming that Raisy is going to stick with the Galena now, going on to our third map, because if I remember correctly, I think it's Blood Run for our third maps, which means definitely going to have quite a bit of Galena usage there.
One of the oldest Quake dual maps in existence, coming out in 1997. It has existed in every iteration of Quake, and pretty much any first-person shooter that's competitive has had some version of Blood Run. I am so happy to see it here in Quake Champions, and I'm thrilled to see it here as the tiebreaker between these two guys.
Yeah, so this is a classic Quake map for these guys to go up against each other on. And again, as you can see there, for those of you that are just joining us, well, you've missed a heck of a set so far, but it's only going to get better here as we head into a classic Quake map to decide who is going to get to move forward into the quarterfinals. Is it going to be last year's and the previous year's QuakeCon champion rapha, or will the newcomer raisy shut him down right here?
It's too close to tell. I mean, we have things launching up. We're going to have to see how the champion picks go. I think what we saw last map was just a lot of respect given to each other with those. The Galena is still a bit of a wild card there, as I'm sure Raisy wanted it to be. We're going to have to see how it goes here.
We're going to take a look at the replay
this
from rapha, though, and this is actually how he was able to close out. You can see it, 4:55 on the timer. Raisy did not realize, and I never realized, too, that rapha actually took a shot before that, but apparently Raisy didn't hear that. So Raisy actually made a pretty big miscalculation there right at the end of the round.
And that's the little things from rapha that make him the champion that he is so far here. But I don't want to speak too soon. We still have another map to play here. And you can see rapha just getting himself mentally, physically prepared as we go into Blood Run.
Well, I'll take a look once we get into the game itself, how exactly these selections went for the champions there as we're taking a look at that replay while they were picking. They're loading in now, and it is time to see, folks. Whew, this is going to be a good one.
I'm seeing a Sorlag, I'm seeing Anarchies either way. Do we still have Galena in it? Galena and Blood Run is actually a lot of fun. There's a lot of things you can do there. But again, the fact that Raisy's been kind of saving Galena for last has not given him enough opportunities to use her to her fullest.
The Sorlag, though, is just so good to use right on the fresh spawn as you start off the round that I highly doubt he would make that switch over to the Galena, even though it is way more useful on this map.
I think I'm starting to see a bit more rapid eye movement coming out of Raisy there as we see this warm-up. But how much more warmed up can these guys get?
So rapha for sure kept with the Anarchy. You can see him, he's playing on it now. But the only question is, what are the other two champions that he's choosing to go with? He's got the Sorlag there,
I think that's
too.
Nick's Anarchy, Sorlag. I mean, he's feeling confident. He's sticking with his good guns, yeah.
Yeah. So sticks with the same thing from that previous map there. And why shouldn't he? Because he was able to actually close out that while we're getting into it. And the fight's already begun, actually. Raisy, he's got the rails. He's trying to do damage from range. If he hit that one, it would have gotten him the kill. In fact, he can still get, ooh, just barely misses it. And now finally, he'll fall back away from this fight. rapha recovered a little bit.
Yeah, getting the pull back there on the corner coming out of the stairs is so dangerous. But Raisy back up on the tribal, looking for rapha to come up the stairs. We've got a lot of opportunity for traps here on Blood Run, of course, but without items up, you really could be anywhere. There's so many ways to cross this map very quickly, even as a Sorlag. Well, maybe especially as a Sorlag if you have a rocket launcher. But there's Mega coming back up. rapha's looking for the rail on it. Doesn't quite get the hit, but Raisy didn't realize that he was up at the corner either. What does that give rapha, however? Does it give him any ability to get up on that armor? Not really. He's going to have to go up the jump pad. He's going to have to come through the doorway. It's going to be a difficult road for him. But if Raisy comes through this teleport at the wrong time, he's going to catch him. He was actually expecting it, whipping around with the spit and the LG, just barely seeing rapha getting out of the room.
A little bit late, but look at how much control Raisy has now. He's both the power-ups under his control. And it's probably going to stay that way, too. He's right over here. He's ready for the Mega Health pickup in a couple of seconds. rapha's just trying to do damage with the tribal at range. That's definitely not going to happen. I like the position this Raisy's taken, though, because if rapha overpeaks, he can do great damage with the LG from up on that close. He just needs to buy himself the opportunity to go back here, get that Mega Health pickup without taking too much damage. Oh, he did get pegged by a rocket just as he got that picked up, so loses all the extra armor. Now, though, he's ready to go back in, take the fight versus rapha. The spin over top, but that actually misses quite heavily. So he will have to fall back and let rapha get the armor pickup. But now Raisy's in kind of a tough spot, actually.
And this is a map where rapha really has the ability to just make a fight happen long enough to get control of an item. I mean, being able to drop from armor to mega is such a huge part here. And anytime that you can force your opponent back into this small armor room, you've given yourself a lot of time to not only get items, but to get a better position for the next fight. So Raisy coming back up top here. We're going to be seeing rapha possibly moving through the teleporter down the stairs, getting behind Raisy if he's fast enough. But Raisy's checking rocket launcher, not quite seeing rapha just yet. 2 seconds to armor, and Raisy's not even there for the challenge.
Raisy, he is going to be up on top here now, trying to move in and try and go for the armor pickup. He did hit a couple of those glops as well against his opponent here, so he's got him a little bit lower. rapha's still in a good spot for Raisy hiding in the corner. He's stuck here too. Those nails will do so much damage. He peeks out. He sneaks in the rail. rapha gets the pickup with the spit from rapha. saves his own life and lets him get the initial kill.
He made that rocket jump, getting himself down to 20 health to make that armor so risky, and throwing out that spit just to keep himself safe. Again, you're not going to get the dot damage. It had to be direct, and that's exactly what Rapha got. So now, one frag in the lead is going to be Raisy on the Anarchy. Coming up the jump pad is going to be a ton of insane LG, as we've already seen, and that rail would have done it for Rapha, but a little bit wide. It makes this fight go on a little bit longer, dancing around the pillar, looking for the rocket launcher, but it's going to be a mutual frag down to the last one for Raisy here. It's going to be that Galena up against Rapha's Nyx.
Yeah, despite the trade, that still plays into Rapha's favor, as now he's going to be able to go over to the Nyx. He'll go up against the Galena on it, and Raisy actually missing that jump there. His opponent's going to be able to get quite a bit of rocket damage on him as a result of that one. And oh, he hits another one. Thankfully, that one's for a pretty small amount of damage. Only about 6 being hit there, but now he goes back in, gets the mega health, bounces his opponent, but the quick switch from Rapha gets him the last kill, and it closes out round 1.
Popped and locked. Doesn't get much more classic than that. The rocket to rail, especially up against the wall on the LG, you really don't have much room to run away there. And even if that that rail goes wide, you still have just enough time to sneak one in as they go up that jump pad. So Rapha, really well played out there.
Absolutely. Let's get into round 2, though, and see if the action continues in this pattern, as Raisy, struggling quite a bit on round 1, is going to slow down his play style immensely going into the start of round 2 here. He's only got himself, I mean, the nail gun pickup so far. Finally jumps down and gets himself LG. Hasn't decided to go for the armor pickup, so right from the start, he just lets Rapha control both.
I've come to the point where, a bit of LG action there before Raisy can duck through the teleporter, but over the course of these qualifiers, I've stopped saying just the nail gun. I mean, it has turned into such an important weapon for a lot of these players. The long-range pressure is just so amazing, but Raisy, once again, stuck back here in the small armor room. For the first time in any iteration of Quake, you can actually hear your opponent taking this armor away, so you don't even really get to mask information from your opponent taking away the heavy armor, which is exactly where Rapha's at right now. He's actually kind of leaving it up for a moment, hoping to catch Raisy at the teleporter up at the platform, but there's the jump pad, rather the rocket jump, and a little bit of damage coming out of Raisy, but not enough to make Rapha regret getting that armor.
Yeah, Rapha now going to fall back. He's going to try to deny the mega health too over to the tribal. I'd actually like these with the tribal there, as it does give him a little bit more good lay on that one and just wastes more time. Raisy ultimately will still go in and pick it up. He has to eat up quite a bit of armor in order to do that, but he's got the small armor right up here that he can pick up. There's a couple more that he's going to be able to route over towards back over here, but oh, actually miscalculates the push from Rapha. Now puts himself into a bad spot and loses all of that armor. Loses the extra health too, so he's just back down to his base pool.
You could see how Rapha waited after that rocket hit. It was like, all right, did I actually pop him off the platform, or is he going to come back around? But Rapha out of the teleporter is getting the frag, is getting the armor. That's down to Anarchy for Raisy here, and oh man, almost doesn't get through the teleporter himself. This allows Rapha to get time to shop for items and maybe even catch his opponent up at the upper armor room.
Yeah, missed that portal by like a couple inches there, so actually ends up taking way more damage than he needed to out of that fight, especially after going for the injection, so only sits at the base 76 HP.
Of course, this is a map where spam can go a very long way, but it also, of course, reveals your position. Rapha just depending on his stack there to give him the LG fight. Very nicely done. Once again, it's down to Galena, but Rapha is going to be able to use his time to get armor and then drop down for the Mega. Actually, no, he's going to be catching him at the rocket launcher. The Galena totem giving Rapha pause just long enough to deny him that, but in all that time, Raisy did not have the ability to change his mind, change his route, and go for that Mega, so Rapha still has full control here.
Raisy's up against the wall now. He's able to recover a little bit of health with a totem drop. Still needs to keep himself in this, though. We're going to have another totem coming back up in a second. Able to throw that on the ground. Great shot from Rapha. Nice little rail there. He's got Raisy on the run. He can throw it on the totem, heal himself a little bit with that one. Tries to push into it, but no. Has to run out of the room. Gets one more bubble, but no, it's Rapha again that dominates the situation here in round 2.
Nice little bit of aggression there. I mean, he had to be diving in for that totem thinking, all right, I can get some health out of this, but it was just when Rapha was LGing it down. He didn't see the beam, he didn't see Rapha, he didn't see the rocket.
So there we go. Rapha with a quick 2-0 start to this third map, and potentially allowing him to control this after being 5 seconds away from elimination back on the last map. He's now up 2-0 on the third and final map here for Blood Run. Raisy has to pull a complete reversal on this map in order to win it, upset, and take out the prior QuakeCon champion.
Well, a couple rails like that is a good way to start things off. I mean, we've got a lot of time before items come back up, but out of the teleporter down the stairs, Rapha doing quite a bit of damage with the rocket launcher as he's feeling confident about moving through this teleporter now, even robbing the smaller armor away from Raisy potentially here. Both items are coming up at just about the same time, so it's going to be a trade. Did Rapha actually hear which one was taken? No, both of them go to Raisy.
So he's got a good advantage to play off of here. He now needs to find the position to engage on Rapha. You can see Rapha trying to delay things a little bit there with the rocket usage. He's going to fall back at building up his own armor count a bit more just by going for the small armor pickups. still pushed into the corner here in small armor room. I think he was expecting raisy to get aggressive on him now that he put him into this room. There's not a lot of options to escape from, to be completely honest, but raisy's also gone quiet.
Yeah, this is a good time for Rapha just to wait for the next spawn of the items and maybe make a fight happen down here at the Mega. He can escape back up the jump pad, deciding it's not really worth it. And once again, raisy is fully stacked up here. So we've got Rapha looking for raisy at the Mega. He doesn't really have the timing here, I don't think, but there's the rail on raisy. That's certainly going to be a good start. Coming back around the corner here, maybe at the stairs. He's once again going slow, going silent. And, you know, at best, he's able to get timing and damage here off of raisy. At worst, well, we're going to have to see how the spit goes. But what? I blinked and raisy just got melted. He had 4 rotations of the items, and Rapha just completely decimated him.
raisy had every item advantage he could possibly have in that round right there, but the one advantage he didn't have was positioning, and that's ultimately what let Rapha punish. He was able to push back in, still in a rough spot. There's a raisy actually just clips him off right at the end with the nail gun there. Trades it back. We quickly go down to the 2v2, but still, that kill from Rapha was definitely not to be understated. That was a very impressive kill.
Sneaking that nail over the ledge. Don't see that happen too often, but it's going to be Nyx and Anarchy here. And it's going to be a chaotic fight indeed around the pillar, as raisy is going to be going through the teleporter very quickly, getting control of the heavy armor. This is where Rapha will have to set a trap with the Nyx in order to control the Mega, or at least do some damage on it. And there are plenty of opportunities for it, so raisy is going to have to be a little bit more careful here. Rapha up top right now just going to be getting information on the audio for the Mega pickup. There it is. Back to the teleport. He's waiting for him, just waiting for him, and he's confident enough in his LG to be able to do the Ghost Walk, get out of the fight, and come back into it. But he's going for the 25, and 1 rocket would have done it for either of them.
Rapha's so low, 25 HP, recovered a little bit more now as he got the bubble pickup, but sees his opponent come through the portal, but mistimes the shot by just a tad, and as a result, he missed the rocket jump too. So now he's gonna find himself down below in the pit. He's still another 5 seconds away from the spawn. Tries to quickly go through here so that he can still be able to go in and get that armor. He's doing a good job. He gets here in time at the very least. It denies his opponent the pickup, but thankfully he had enough health to be able to eat up that rail shot there. Has to use the injection to stay alive, though.
The weapon switches from raisy. I mean, he had a great angle. He had a great position to get that rail on Rapha, but he was trying to decide between rockets and rails there. I think that cost him quite a bit, at least an opportunity there. But now moving back to the map, he's looking for him on the teleport. Whiffs a little bit more there. Not so good for Rapha, but he gets a little bit more information. He's throwing down a lot of nails, knowing that he hasn't gone through the teleporter. raisy's still kind of sticking out here, knowing that he can make a good, strong push here on the Mega.
raisy's rails aren't really showing up on this round right now, and just whiffs what could have been 2 pretty predicted shots. He knew exactly where Rapha was going, but just was not able to hit his mark right there. So now back up in the mid. He does get some damage onto his opponent there. The stealth pop comes out from Rapha as he's just above 25 on both his armor and his health counts here. But raisy, excuse me, is going to let Rapha escape. Not for long, though. He jumps back into the fight pretty quickly. He's got him low, but he can't get up there himself. So Rapha doesn't have a free pop out as he goes back up to the top of mid.
Rocket jumping would have been so dangerous there. raisy definitely made the right decision. I mean, Rapha's still railable, and if raisy can even land this one, it's 2 tenths, but there's 4 health for raisy, keeping him alive, able to get the Mega, but up the jump pad, that rocket will put raisy down to his last life here as is Galena. We've been talking about all these potential Galena strats here, but now raisy has to pull them all out.
Less than a minute, too, for raisy to trade that kill back and take down the Nyx on Rapha there. 40 seconds here now as some time has gone by. raisy, he's going to be jumping back in. Spots Rapha sitting in the corner. Rapha still has his stealth, though. He's going to try to stay in this one position for as long as humanly possible until his opponent goes to the portal there. Now he'll change it up a little bit, but he's only changing it by slight amounts, and he's pecking off damage here and there. He's got raisy low. He does manage to go in and get that Mega health pickup, but now it just dodges all of it. 20 seconds remaining here until Rapha is able to push through after almost being eliminated in that last map. He's able to survive, and if this goes on for too much longer, then it is indeed going to be Rapha that pushes through into the round of 8.
And there's Ghost Walk, and that might turn into a victory lap for Rapha here with 2 seconds left. There we have it. Rapha will be moving forward. raisy had such a fantastic run, but that will be Rapha moving forward in the bracket. raisy, I think he got a lot of new fans here today and yesterday as well, myself included.
Incredibly impressive play from raisy, especially in maps number 1 and 2, but it was ultimately Rapha that took swift control, survives after coming very, very close, just 4 seconds away from a timer elimination back on the second map. But he held on. He got that nice clutch rail that brought it down to a 1v1 back on Blood Covenant and was able to close it out there, taking it all the way to map number 3 here on Blood Run, where he dominated this one and just took a straight 3-0.
Looking at raisy's face, I have no idea what's going through his head. I mean, it's got to be crushing losing like that, but at the same time, I know it's probably not worth, saying to him. It's not going to be too useful, but almost taking out, 5 seconds away from taking out the QuakeCon 2-time champion. and so many other titles that Rapha has, of course. That is certainly something to be proud of.
Oh yeah, that was incredibly impressive from Raisy, and we'll hopefully be seeing him in many more tournaments in the future as well, as this guy definitely has a bright future ahead of him if he continues on the current path.
I mean, Rapha now, he's finally kind of taking a breather. He's getting back into not really rubbing his face too much. He's just happy to be here, happy to be moving forward. But man, what a fantastic round. Analysts, what do you guys think?
Amazing. Just keep throwing us games like that, and we'll be very happy over here on the desk. Rapha takes it in an amazing 3-game series. Gentlemen, I don't even know where we want to start with this. I mean, first and foremost, I think when they were showing Raisy and Blue was asking, you know, I wonder what's going through his head. I hope that what is going through his head is that, like, I've got what it takes to be a champion in this game, because what I have seen from him this weekend, there is no doubt about it. He has come in, he has put his mark down. The flag, the Raisy flag is there in the ground, and I expect that we are going to see an incredible amount out of that talented young man out there. You know, he dominated in game 1, even though it was 3-2. There was some very dominant rounds from him, back and forth in game 2. But I want to hear from you guys. What did you think? We'll start with you, Vic, in this pretty intense matchup.
Well, let me just reiterate the excitement. I mean, I'm on pins and needles watching these games. Yeah, Raisy has a very interesting style about, you know, because the Sorlag is so effective. You could tell that his Sorlag was his go-to champion. He was really good about setting up ambushes and landing that Sorlag spit. His lightning gun, basically his hit scan aim is just out of this world. It's some of the craziest aim I've seen in a long time. And he's really good about initiating pressure, and so if he lands that good rail, that good rocket or whatever, he was in. That's it. He didn't hesitate. And one of the things in Quake Duel, you cannot hesitate. Whatever decision you make, whether right or wrong, you need to decide quickly. Sitting there and thinking about it for 5 seconds is giving your opponent, and especially at this level, you can't do that.
One of the things we were talking about whilst we were watching earlier was it was kind of like playing against a poker player who's somewhat new. Like, Raisy is new to this level of the game, and so for Rapha, it's hard. It took a long time for him to be able to predict what was going to happen, and Raisy did a lot of things that just you would not expect. Be it an experience, be it a new play style, one or the other. He had not been programmed to play in the way that everyone expects him to, and that led to a lot of fun. And I got to say, the other thing we were talking about that I would like to say publicly is how much fun the round system gave to that. It built so many great crescendos and gave us a very different type of game to the one we would have seen in the history of Quake.
I mean, great points, Tosspot. We were talking up here about, you know, it's something that, like, coming from that era of, like, no, time to duels, that's all there is, right? Obviously, like, change is something we all fear. But even this tournament, in these last 2 games, they've showed us the round system has done an amazing job. And even, you know, I think we're going to get a chance to talk to Rapha here a little bit, but there's some interesting champion selections too, as now people are starting to figure, okay, I'm starting with that Sorlag round 1, and then there was some instances where Rapha was like starting with Anarchy, and we were like, you know, why? What is it? And it's something we hope to ask for. But the other thing that, you know, call it what it is, maybe it's just coincidence, but as we were talking about the intensity of game 1 and 2, we saw these players moving into ZTN, which is a map that Rapha has, you know, thousands of hours of practice on, both in practice and in tournament play, and how that might have had some effect on this game, right? Like,
yes.
I firmly believe that someone who has an enormous amount of more experience is just going to have that one leg up, and I feel like that is kind of what we saw. Whether or not that was reflected in what we're going to hear from Rapha, we'll have to wait and see. But what do you guys think about that? Is it crazy, or is that totally legit?
No, totally legit. You can have a lot of Quake experience. You could play for 10 years or whatever. There's Quake experience, and then there's Quake tournament experience, and there is no replacement for tournament experience. One, pressure. You will never find any more pressure in trying to win a Quake tournament in regards to that. And the player caliber that you can be running against, you're going to get pushed. You're going to play against the best players in the world. It's going to put you in situations that will really, you know, push your skill level. If you just, you know, play online, you're playing with your friends, you're really limiting your future growth. So I think Rapha's tournament experience, he's had big game. I mean, huge, everything on the line on ZTN. So I think he kind of called back on that, and I always go, no substitute for experience, as they say.
I'll play devil's advocate to your point about ZTN.
Sure.
I don't necessarily agree with what I'm going to say, but the map prior to ZTN was DM6. it's not like he hasn't played a lot on that as well, and that was just seconds away from going the way of Raisy. So I'll play devil's advocate. I do actually think ZTN is a particularly technical map that does need that many more hours.
Yeah.
But you know, there's both sides to it.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, I think that's totally viable. They haven't told me in my ear, but I see this man like standing over here, and I'm excited to talk to him. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Rapha over on the other stage. Rapha, first off, congratulations. Stay alive. That was, I mean, how was that for you? It was great for us, but it must have been pretty intense up there.
Man, I think this is one of the most exciting things about Quake Champions is the new blood. And seeing these guys come up with these new styles, and literally I always thought Toxic LG was probably the best, but that is hands down the best LG I've ever had to deal with and try to plan around. And yeah, I don't know, it was really exciting, and I love being in those clutch moments and trying to figure out how to counter what he's doing. And yeah, it brought out the best in me, and I really needed it, and I'm going to need it continuing to go forward.
Well, let's talk a little bit about game one. You had some pretty amazing rails in that one. In fact, you had the rail to basically save your, actually, this is game two, your rail to save the tournament life for yourself. And that was very nicely done. Now, we saw the consistent theme of Sorlag coming out from Raisy, and you kind of matched that in games 2 and game 3, but there was a couple of times in your rounds in game 1 where you chose to go with Anarchy first. Is that like, was that just a change that you made, or why did you think that was the right champ to go with?
So, especially the first map, it kind of comes down to initial spawns as far as who gets the clear advantage, I'd say playstyle-wise. So if I was playing somebody like Vu is really, really good with rockets. So if he gets the RA spawn, it's actually not that bad for him because then he can lock it out. But for somebody like Raisy, if he spawns by LG and he's like hitting like a truck, he can just zone you out over and over. So I was hoping with the Anarchy pick that eventually I could maybe use the speed to, like, if I saw a chance to get LG and get out safely. But he was playing too well for that, so I just tried to change and maybe match what he was doing so that, you know, I at least wouldn't be burning from the acid, and hopefully I could try to find some better positioning to take fights. So, and I was doing pretty well with it, just he had a fantastic sequence of events on the 5th round to take that first frag, and it was uphill battle from there for me.
And I would like to, if you could reiterate it on that, because when I was watching the match, one of the things I did notice, like you said, his LG aim, his hit scan aim is really out of this world. Talk a little bit about that, how you had to adjust your strategy. Do you move to more a rocket type to try to force a rocket battle? I noticed you seem to be landing a little more of those prediction rockets, start to try to read him a little better and, you know, get that initial damage. And then you have, a, you know, that LG is a little more manageable, right? Because you got that first hit in or two.
Yeah, so obviously by the stats, we both used LG a lot. But that's because he does a really, really good job of not allowing too many fights that are super up close with rockets, or he tries to avoid rail battles. And I'd say, like, at this tournament, it's been a bit difficult to detect sounds all the time, like it is at home. So sometimes when he's trying to escape, you know, he gets to safe areas, and I actually, you know, I can't necessarily know where he is all the time. And that comes out to his benefit. And the one challenge with the CPM movement characters with Anarchy and Sorlag is obviously you want to use rockets against them, but every now and then they're moving so fast that the rocket propels them to your face faster. So then it's like, especially with Sorlag, that's not what you want at all. So, and it's difficult to, you know, make that judgment call for yourself to go for all or nothing rockets over and over, you know. So, yeah, it's just something you have to get used to and start to read him and play him. I think for a lot of people against his style, they'd have to play him quite a bit to get used to that.
Interesting. All right, well, I feel like we could probably ask you questions all day, but we're going to let you go. Take a rest before your next matchup. Good luck for the rest of the tournament, and appreciate you putting out some great games for us. Thank you very much, Shane.
Thanks, gentlemen.
We are going to have, of course, more tournaments coming up here in just a moment. But let's just go to this shot of Shane real quick and just admire how cool as a cucumber. So we are going to have, of course, more action coming at you right here from the round of 16 for the Quake World Championships, brought to you by AMD. Any final thoughts before we head to our break, real quickly?
Well, Machiavelli, you were talking about the lineage continuing. Your lineage is alive and well. How do you feel?
I feel good, man. I feel good. People don't know. I mean, yeah, the lineage of Quake, we pass down knowledge, and Rapha's the man now, so I must say, I'm a little bit biased. I'm rooting for Shane.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, the action heats back up right here for the Quake World Championships. Don't go away. We'll be right back.